Relationships aren't always sunshine and rainbows. Just like in nature, you can't have rainbows without a little rain.
Journey with us,
Shani Goodson
and Dr. Sunjata as we share stories and insights about our thriving, unconventional love life and our unique take on relationships and consensual non-monogamy. What's happening, y'all?
Hi. Hey, guys. Nice to see you both.
It's good to see you both as well. Welcome to the first interview episode of SunShan and Rainbows. So really excited that you two have, decided to join us. And welcome to all of our listeners and those of you who are watching this video. Thank y'all for being with us for another episode. And we hope that y'all are excited to see some other folks joining us on the virtual couch. You see, we got the yellow couch still. We're still on the yellow couch, but then we got Tank and Pink joining us from their couch. And I want to take a moment to introduce those two. But before I ask y'all to say anything y'all want to say to introduce yourselves, I just want to say that I met both Tank and Pink when I joined a Facebook group that they founded, created, and spearhead, facilitate, and lead called Poly, Black, and Dating.
We've already talked about this group a few times, actually.
Yes, you all have heard us name drop Poly, Black, and Dating so many times if you've been following this show, because it's such an integral part of my journey. And, I'll let Shani speak for herself.
I mean, we love PBD because y'all keep it safe in there. You keep it so on brand, like for what we actually subscribe to, because so many poly groups out here are just kind of letting anybody in, then letting them run wild, and it becomes more like a polygamy group. And one of the things that we always appreciate about this group is we don't let that happen in PBD. Like, polygamists do not get to they don't get to fly under the radar in there. So always appreciate that. Always appreciate the safeness in there. I've met people in there for sure. I met Sunjata pretty kind of in there. I would say, yeah, for the most part, like I can tie a lot of my connections back to PBD. So always a pleasure to be in there, especially when it's time to be amused. You already know.
Yeah. So, hey, help us welcome Ben Tank, Ben Pink to SunShan and Rainbow. So welcome, y'all.
If you're
polyamorous, thank you.
You probably already know a little bit about them. You probably already heard of them.
I appreciate you calling me Ben, because some people will call me Ben.
Yeah, they do.
And I'm like, well, if I'm Ben and her name is Ben Pink, how come she isn't Ben too? But
yeah.
It's a weird thing sometimes.
People talk to me and they're like, how's Ben? I'm like, I know who they're talking about, but I'm like, well, which one?
Right.
Well, you know what? I think, and I feel like you've told me I think it's because you told me the story behind it. And it's like, because you were Tank and she was Pink. Right. So then you're like, we've been Tank and we've been Pink, right?
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But thank you for giving us our flowers. Sometimes we hear, negative things. So it's always good to hear some positive feedback and know that we are appreciated.
Oh my goodness. So much appreciated. And so is there anything y'all want the people to know in terms of like intro information before we get into our line of questioning?
Our line of questioning.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I'm with it.
It's an interview show.
It's an interview.
Full attorney mode right now. Hey, let me switch my hat. Hold on.
Well, no, I don't have anything that I would want to share. I mean, I'm an open book, so whatever you shoot to me, I'm gonna shoot it back.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and start with something a little spicy real quick. I mean, I gotta get on Tank real quick because I expected, when he turned that hat around, I was gonna see a D, for Detroit. What's up with the all blue Yankee?
I got a whole hat collection, and yesterday for Father's Day, I got Tank and Girl Dad.
Cute.
Nice.
With a Yankee fit from my kids. So I
support the Yankee.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, though. I got D hats too, though. I got Atlanta hats too. That's them the only three I rock.
Got it.
His
So
last fitted hat I got for Christmas, and it was a Detroit hat. So I told the girls, like, he just got a fresh one.
Yeah.
Let's do something
okay.
different.
So
Yeah.
are you actually a fan of all three?
I am.
Okay.
And Walker.
Cool, cool. All right. Well, that kind of leads into, where I wanted to start anyway is, where are y'all from? If you could say a little bit about that and then where y'all currently reside.
All right. Well, we're born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. We
West Side.
right west side of Detroit. Livernois, 6 Mile area to be exact, if anyone is listening and they know about Detroit. We currently reside in Douglasville, Georgia. But that's only temporary.
We got a new house.
We got a new
Okay.
house.
Okay.
Our twins, our oldest two girls have already jumped off the porch and left home, but our youngest, our twins are they graduated and they're going to college in August. So
We have no reason to be in the suburbs anymore. Nope. We don't
yeah.
need the public schools or anything
Right.
anymore.
We
So,
can get rid of this
Hey,
big house. I'm
yep.
so
So we
like
got a new
excited
house.
about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Congratulations on this empty nester stage.
Yeah, empty
Yes.
nester stage. We moved right into the smack dab middle of the city. So it's gonna
Nice.
be
that's what's
That's what's
up.
up. That's what's up. Congratulations.
Y'all actually went to high school with somebody else who I know, which I thought was
yes.
so funny and so interesting. We were talking about that, about how like sometimes you'll come and you'll stumble onto some people who you knew from way
Hmm.
back in the day
Mm-hmm.
in the
Yeah.
group,
Yep.
and you're like, "What's up? I haven't seen you in a long time." So that was actually pretty cool to find out that y'all are all connected. And we know some people in the group too. And that makes me think about like y'all's memories in high school. Not trying to give it all away, but y'all been together forever.
Yeah. We've been
Yes.
together
Right.
since
Yeah.
1995. And
My
I was
yo.
15 and she was 13.
Yeah, I was in
Wow.
the 8th grade when I met this person.
Yeah.
Oh, oh.
And
Yeah.
so y'all ended up going to the same high school and everything?
Yep. We went to the same high school. She didn't start at my high school, but she came to my high
Yeah,
school.
I went to Cass Tech, a big high school in Detroit, and he went to a smaller school, but it was college prep, a really good school, and I wanted to be near him, so I begged my mom if I could like transfer high schools, and
Uh,
she let me do it.
That's
So
cute.
that's dope. That's dope, man. It's so rare to see those type of relationships that are still, people are still together that met in high school and that early in their developmental years. So it's so cool to see this type of relationship represented in our space and our love style, especially. So we're taking it all the way back, right? Like when y'all first met in those formative years, what are some of the memories that you have about the relationships you saw the adults having in your life, just in general?
that's a
So
good question.
for me, and I don't know if everybody here has a therapist, but I have a therapist, and we've been sort of working on, my childhood traumas and experiences. But like I kind of grew up to not be the most overly romantic, touchy feely kind of person.
Mhm.
And I had zero examples of men being romantic, loving, feely in my childhood. Like my mom's need from my dad, first and foremost, was for him to like provide. And
Mhm.
he didn't do that well, right? So I kind of grew up with like the thing that was most important for me as a parent and as a partner is providing. Like
Mhm.
you won't need or ask or beg me for anything. I'm going to provide. But that left a deficit for me a little bit in like the love space.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, obviously, I loved loved her a lot. Obviously, couldn't get enough of her though. Like in 10th grade, I'm catching the bus after the public
Transportation,
transportation
yeah.
Mhm.
to her house on after school, or I'm riding my bike 5 miles to get to her. Like we kind of were inseparable, and we kind of had our own bubble that
Yeah, that
we
created.
created, and
Yeah.
our friends were mad about not spending time with us because we were just in a bubble with each other, which is weird for me because like I said, I had no romantic influences in
Mhm.
my life from a parenting
Okay.
Just
Thank
the
you.
romantic fire burning for Pink in your heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, he definitely did. I could tell sometimes though in the beginning that it was more awkward for him than it was for me. I'm definitely the more affectionate one in general. And my household was different. I did see affection and lots of love and kisses and touching, and even heard sex and stuff like that. So my experience was different. So I'm more of the lover than he is. But when we were young, I did feel like I ignited that within him. So it was a cool experience to have. And we were so young. So it was almost like being each other's first love.
Mm-hmm. Cool, cool.
Very
First
intense.
everything.
First everything. Very intense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how would y'all say that those early experiences with seeing the adults in your lives?
Do you feel like those memories impacted your way to polyamory? Like, do you feel like those things?
I do especially. Okay, so I didn't really talk about what I witnessed. So my mom and my dad were married when I was young. They got divorced eventually when I was about 9 and my dad moved out. But even before that, my mom's been married 4 times. So she would always have her ex-husbands around. And those are my uncles. So I had a bunch of uncles. It was her ex-husbands, it was her ex-boyfriends, men that just all loved her. And we had kitchen table with them. My dad would sit up with all of her men and laugh and have relationships with each other.
Yeah,
So that's what I
and
grew up
I
with.
witnessed that.
Yeah. And they were all affectionate with her. And no one was upset. They didn't call it polyamory, but and now it's funny because my mom was like, I've been doing poly. I did that way
So
before y'all.
they basically kind of all had feelings for her that they displayed.
Yes.
I mean, I would imagine that would definitely impact your path to polyamory. So, like, who kind of brought it up? Like, what was it, and how early, like, when in y'all's relationship? And, like,
I think what impacted us so much was the fact that we started out together so close. And I think like early on, we kind of talked about like, because we started so young together, that there's sort of no way we're going to go the rest of our lives and not have interest in exploring other experiences. So let's like not mess us up for the sake of that, though. And then we just kind of gradually just had different experiences that came out. Like she wanted to explore her bisexuality and she talked to me about it, and then we just sort of figured out how would she go about exploring it. And that's kind of like how most of our
That's how
progression.
it kicked off as far as being non-monogamous. So I wanted to explore but my bisexuality, but I did not want to ruin my relationship with him and cheat or, do something unethical. So instead I was honest and he understood. And I had my first experiences with women just by myself. And then when I realized that this is something that I like, I kind of craved a relationship with a woman. And he allowed me to have that too. But we still didn't call it polyamory. We weren't educated on it yet. So I had a whole girlfriend, was whole ass polyamorous, but
Wow.
didn't realize it. It took him finding someone else that he was interested in, and then I had an issue. And then it was almost like, but wait, we've been doing this. And for me, it's like, no, it's not the same. It's a girl,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
it's just me,
Just didn't know.
Just didn't know.
Yeah. Where was this in your journey? Was this pre-marriage, post-marriage, where Pink you started dating other women? Okay, so this was post-marriage. So y'all were pretty much monogamous until post-marriage. And okay. And
So there's a little nuance to it. It is post marriage, right? So we've been married for 24 years. So we were like 21 or something like that.
Mhm.
And some of those first experiences, I felt like in my head they were just like I wasn't even really even like worried about it in a relationship sense. And then it sort of just started, things just started progressing more toward relationships. And I feel like that was like 21 through like 27 or 8 or
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
Um, and then somewhere around 28 to 32 range, it started getting much more like, oh, she's got a whole girlfriend. Like,
Mm.
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were non-monogamous and looking for people who were also non-monogamous. And the easiest route we found to find that was swing groups.
Right.
So we tried hanging with the swingers, and
Oh,
we
man.
quickly figured out that we weren't swingers.
Oh, they were so mad at us. They were like,
The swing
it was like,
community hated us.
we didn't hung out with y'all 9 times and ain't nothing happened.
And we're like, no, we don't have
We
sex.
just getting
Yeah,
to know you.
right.
We're
We're
just
trying
spending time.
to, yeah.
Now
We were
he's like
trying to,
that.
Yeah.
yeah. Like
Y'all
we
in there
want,
trying to make friends and cultivate connection,
Yeah.
yes,
and they're like,
exactly.
"What's up? Y'all holding out?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
And like we were one of the first couples we met. Like they wanted to do stuff. So like we went to dinner one night and there was like, we know Tank is the reason we're not moving forward because Pink's a free spirit. So what we'll do is we're gonna put Tank on a schedule. So the next time we're gonna do this, it might just be kissing. Then the next time after that, we'll do that. And I was just like, I'm a grown man. Y'all ain't gonna put me on no schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
You
were
know,
pissing pretty much.
man.
So we started there, and we ended up meeting. There's a lot of people, same spectrums. So we ended up meeting polyamorous people, and that's when we became educated and
Okay.
Okay.
started to
So,
realize that it was a better fit for us versus swinging.
Yeah.
got it. Got it. So, I mean, that's not uncommon. It's, in fact, in my experience, it's very common for so many people to kind of take that same trajectory that you
Yeah.
all took. And
Yeah.
one of the things that was surprising to me when I started my journey, even though it looks completely different than y'all, one of the first things I did when I separated from my now ex-wife, because she wasn't willing to go on this journey with me when I accepted that I was non-monogamous, I went to this polyamory support group meeting. And it was like this circle of people because I felt alone. I was like, I need to find my people. I'm like searching and I found something online. I'm like, I'll go. And there was this
Yeah.
group of people, probably about 15 people, 15 to 20 people in this space. And it shocked me that all the men were there, like, because my wife, wanted to do this. My wife wanted to explore this. Whereas based on, in my mind, based on my understanding about things, when people talked about this world of being free and polyamorous, it's like it's the man who wants to be the open and the free one and the
Yeah.
free. He wants to
Yeah.
Mhm.
have options and he wants to be out here having sex. So it's probably the men leading this thing. And I was totally shocked to learn that in so many instances, it was the wife that was the
Yeah.
one kind of bringing the husband along. So I found that interesting. And that seems to be
Yeah.
like it was your journey as well in that way.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was. I feel like during the process, it didn't feel that way, but then after looking back, it was like, oh,
Mhm.
you kind of started this journey.
Yeah. So for me, especially back then, I said that he did because he was the first one to say, "Hey, I want to be polyamorous."
Okay.
Because even though I was being polyamorous, I didn't realize I
Right. It
was,
was like
but
her
he
polyamory
was
didn't count. That
right. In my head, it didn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I felt like, well, you started it because you found someone that you found a woman that you're interested in. Now you want to do this,
yeah,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
technically, I did start it.
That's so
Technically.
interesting.
It's like, which one happened first, the chicken or the egg?
That's what.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I get it. I get the way that, again, the way our conditioning works.
hmm
It's like, I'm only dating or being intimate with other women. That don't count.
Right.
yeah.
That's how I felt
That's how it was.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Then
then even going into the swinging space, I'm curious, was there any resistance at any stage of this journey for you, Tank?
so for sure, like when we got to the swinging stage, I was like 28, and and I was the only man she had had sex with up to that point. So for me, it was like the golden egg. Like once we really cross this path, there's no putting the egg back together. Like it's just things are different now. So the first her first experience with another man, I was there, but it took like a year for me to be like, you know what? I'm tired of like the anxiety of it. I'm tired of not knowing. I'm tired of talking about it. So we had a mutual friend that was like my buddy, my brother in this arena, and they had like chemistry for each other. So I took her out for her birthday, and then I pulled up to a hotel, and I was like, "He's upstairs. It's going down today."
And I was like, huh? Oh,
Wow.
and he's like, no, you've been not
Been begging,
begging,
but
but you've
this
been
been a
wanting this
topic
for
of
a year.
conversation for a
Like, you
year.
doing it
It's
tonight.
going down tonight. And she was like, "All right, well, go to the
Oh,
liquor store." I was like, "Okay."
right.
So, and then we got upstairs and we sat and talked for like an hour plus. And I think everybody was just really, really nervous about it.
Mhm.
And then after a while, she was like, "Y'all playing, get naked."
Yep. I am the
And
leader in a lot of sexual,
right. And then the
sessions.
experience happened, and me and him, we dapped each other up, and it was cool.
Okay.
And then
Pops.
afterwards, I was like, all that anxiety for that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I was like, sex with someone else was, it wasn't, I thought it was going to be like so different. And it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that was my first struggle. And then, I'm a male and a husband, so all my spouses with another male partner, I never was the type to say it's a no and that's something you can't do.
Mhm.
It was real throughout,
Yeah.
though, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely done a lot of growing and maturing
Yeah.
in that area.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy for either one of us. I feel like it got a little easier for me faster than it did for him.
For sure.
And I think part of that was just because I'm a beautiful woman. So I can find someone to date very easy. I can go to the store and find that,
Yeah.
but
And we
getting
out there pounding the pavement.
right,
Yes.
getting
Right.
someone to date a married man is
It's
tricky.
tough. Yeah, it's tough. That's again a common experience that I've
Yeah.
seen and witnessed,
Yeah.
throughout, my time in this space. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Hmm.
sometimes it felt like a spectator sport where I'm just watching her live this polyamorous life, and I'm over here like waiting on my opportunities.
Yeah.
So that made it tough originally. And then it's so funny as you get like more mature in it, like it's almost like the less you care about it, the easier it is. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like I used to put so much focus and energy on it that it sort of kept me in that bad space with it. And then once I sort of like detached from it a little bit, right? I started to focus my free time and energy on the things that I like and enjoy up in my life. And it sort of became where like, well, when she's with her other partner, it feels no different to me than when she's with her mom on shopping or
Yeah.
visiting her sister in Detroit. It's like she's somewhere spending her time, and now I've got this free time to
Mhm.
watch the game or play the Xbox or whatever it is I want to do.
Mhm.
But that took a lot of work to get
Woo.
to. Sure.
Yeah.
That's like a really good, mindset. I like that. It's because it's like neutrality almost, It's just
Yeah.
like that's what she's doing. Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. I'm a big fan of like all the neutrality movements, like
Yeah.
positivity, but neutrality.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
let's get there.
Yeah.
Let's get
Yeah.
to neutral.
Mhm.
I know you were saying that, your mom kind of was already living this life. And what about your family, friends? Like, what do they think about?
So my children or our children, they know that we're polyamorous. And they're fine with it. When we first told the kids, um, well, there was no telling to the twins because I felt like we had already kind of started when they were so small that they kind of just grew up with knowing that their parents are polyamorous, but we kind of had to break it to the oldest one. And she was super jealous of anything her dad did, not of me. She met my boyfriends and everything. It was like, oh, Malik's coming over. Oh, he's bringing crab legs. Cool. But when daddy's girlfriend comes over with her daughter, I wish her and that ugly baby would go home. Like they
Uh,
were
uh,
so like
uh,
protective of him. So the kids they took it with the oldest two. They kind of were rough with him.
Mm.
Um, my mom was fine, of course. Now my mom's family, like my aunties, my aunts and uncles, and all of that, they don't
okay.
Okay.
know.
But we are also not very close
Yeah,
with
we're not.
with like
Yeah,
that.
You're
side
And
of
not
the
very
like
close.
whether
yeah.
we are poly or not, we're just not that close to.
I
Yeah.
feel you. It's like that's just part of your business. Like they would
Yeah.
not know most of your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and real quick, I want to keep it real with the people who are watching. You notice Shani may look a little distracted. We have children in the house, and we're kind of navigating some things,
No,
y'all.
I
So,
yeah.
I
just
get it.
I figured.
we're trying to work through it and just keep flowing though. So thank y'all for
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
patience.
I don't have a lot of family, period. So there's not a lot to know there. But my friends, like I've got like my guy friends since like middle school. They're like my brothers.
Hmm.
Um, my best friend is been my best friend for like 30 years. He lives in Detroit. He doesn't have anything negative to say about it. He just feels like the tank he knew, really, he just doesn't see how the tank he knew is this tank now. Like,
Mm.
yeah, very much straight laced,
Oh, okay.
very conservative, very do the
Oh,
right things.
Mm.
You know, that person, he just doesn't see how that person got to this person.
he can't see how that person got to. He's upstairs.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
don't know how
Right,
he
yeah,
got
right,
to
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Upstairs.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Like he just can't
He didn't know you was a
see
freak.
that.
Okay.
Yeah,
right, right.
yeah, yeah. But like he'll have all the great conversations with me about it. He's just like I'm always shocked. I just don't see how you went from this. And he's like, especially with her. Like, with her,
Because
you
she's so
went,
near and dear to you.
yes,
Ah,
yes. Like
that's
I don't
kind of
see how
cute
you
though.
got here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I could dig that. So, let's see, man, so much goodness, so much goodness. So let's talk about like your current dynamics and where you are. So if each of you can share with us, like, how do you identify? We got all these labels and things in the polyamory world, from solo poly to relationship anarchist to hierarchy-based relationship. Give us some insight into like how y'all label yourselves and your relationship.
So I mean, we call ourselves
Married
married
and
and
dating.
dating. We absolutely do. I'm sorry if some people get pissed off to hear this. We do practice hierarchy. Sorry. Um, but we are still
But
mindful.
like I, I I agree with that statement,
Mhm.
but like I feel like it almost never has had an impact on
Yeah.
my dating,
And that's the
right?
thing.
Like I'm never going to say partner B has a flat tire in Douglasville, but I can't come to her because TV with pink. Like, you know what I mean? Like none of that. It never actually has impacted my dating because I'm gonna always still prioritize my partner's needs and things. I just never have it where it's like they're competing from each other. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
People spend a lot of time worried about that, but it just doesn't happen. And
Yeah.
then besides that, I can only afford one thing. Also, like there's not going to be any, I'm not going to have another home somewhere anyway because I can only
Yeah.
afford home with this one. So it we say that, but it just doesn't impact anything.
I feel like hierarchy comes into play with us when it is more or less like our needs. Like, let's say that I have a date plan and he's really not feeling well. Like, I'm going to make sure his needs are met. You know what I mean? Or it'll come into play if they're holidays.
But I feel like even like the needs example, like I've had bad days recently, And unless I'm on my deathbed, I'm not about to ask you to not
Yeah,
go
and you
out and
don't.
enjoy
You
yourself
don't.
with your partner. But if I really
Don't I
needed to,
offer?
yes,
But
you
don't
are.
I offer?
Yes, you
That's
are.
what I'm talking about.
But
Right, right,
I feel
right.
like all partners would do that regardless.
Not
though.
necessarily. Not someone who is practicing relationship anarchy necessarily.
I don't
That's
say
interesting.
good. They would.
I
If
would.
a partner
I
needs
would.
that.
That's a good question
Yeah,
because
That's what I'm saying. I feel like
but
all
not.
people would do that.
Yeah.
That's why I say you can say that, but I feel like it doesn't really play a role. We're gonna sort of always do the right thing in each situation.
Okay.
well, I would say, to give some context, as someone who does feel like I practice relationship anarchy, it's tough. Or let's say this, I agree with and live
Look at how she's
into
looking.
a lot of the relationship anarchy principles, but I understand, like, for a lot of people, the moment that I chose to be nested, a lot of that went out the window.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I still feel like I move in that way in a lot of ways, but that doesn't like take away from consideration from like the natural hierarchies that exist for the people in this household, whether
Yes.
they're her or one of the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
That's
that's what I'm
exactly what I'm
speaking
saying.
about.
It's not
yeah,
so
it's like natural
prescribed where it's
hierarchies.
like I'm this, so this is mine. It's more like it's just
But that's not what
natural
hierarchy means to
priorities.
me.
Right. But I
So
feel like in public to the world, I feel like that's
okay.
mostly, especially
Yeah.
people that aren't educated. I feel like that's how they take it. When the reality of it is we're all going to operate with consideration for each other.
Yeah.
Agree with
And I
that.
feel, yeah.
I don't think that if I wasn't feeling well, that he would cancel his date, though. I don't think that would be true. And I wouldn't ask him to either.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what happens over here. Like,
I will say that. I don't think he would. I think he'd be like, all right, boo, hope you feel better.
Right.
That's
yeah.
messed
But see, like,
up.
I feel like,
Hold on.
I feel like we
No, I'm
also
just
trust.
joking.
I
If
feel
I
like,
was like
no,
very,
but I
very
think that's a
sick,
good example though. I feel like we trust each other enough to like, if I pull the I feel sick, don't go card, it's some real shit that I need you here for.
oh, if
Like,
I said that, I think you would stay. I do
yeah, that's
think
what I'm
that.
saying.
I mean,
But I don't think that that's like,
I have an example the other day. I
Okay.
went on a date with one of my partners on Thursday. It was already a really late night date, and I was tired. So I made an effort to get out my bed, shower, get ready, drive to Buckhead from Douglasville. And I did that. Soon as I got all the way to Buckhead, he calls me and he says, I have a flat tire. Now, we have roadside assistance. He is a grown ass black man. He can handle himself. But you know what how I responded? I looked right at my boyfriend and I was like, I might have.
right, but I don't feel like I
Because
feel like
that
that's just
is
partners though. I don't feel like that's hierarchy. I feel
I
like
don't
that's
think so.
partners.
So let me play it back, flip it the other way, in my opinion. If, and this is just me being honest, if my boyfriend called me when Tank and I had just reached our date and said, hey, Pink, I got a flat tire, I would not cancel my date with my husband and say, hey, Tank, we got to go because I got to go see about, I almost
That's
called his
fair.
name. I got to go see about my dude.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
I would let him handle it.
So you, in the
But with my
example you gave,
husband, I would not. I am there immediate. I right then I was like, hey, I might have to leave right on the phone. I told
did you?
Tank, I'm like, I told him, I was checking in
But I
with you
didn't need her.
constantly.
But I didn't need her.
But he texted me every 5 minutes while I was there. I couldn't settle into the date for a long time. And I didn't mind. And I had to keep telling my boyfriend, he's trying to touch on me and stuff. Hey. I gotta make sure that my guy is okay.
Right.
He
Okay.
is priority. So
But I
So
didn't.
so can I let me jump in. Let me jump back in on this one. This is a good one. This is juicy.
yeah, that was just
So it's a couple of things here. This is so nuanced. First, let me rewind what Shani said. I got to speak up for myself real quick
oh yeah.
because it would be one of those things where I would check in. I would definitely check in. It wouldn't just be like Shani's sick. Oh, well, I'm out because I got a date plan. I would check in to see the degree of need. And if you needed me, to be present because you were that level of sick, I absolutely would cancel my date.
And I would never say that though. Like I would never say,
Right.
please
But
cancel your
but
date because I'm sick.
right.
I never would.
But
Yeah.
but if the day that you do, he know it's real then.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I would never, just the way our relationship formed and what it's built on, I would never expect her to pull that just off of some, let's say insecurities or jealousy type, stuff, or just to test me type stuff. Nah, we're better than that. We do too much work for that. So I'll say that. On the flip side, talking about your situation and an example you gave, Pink. So I love how you gave like both perspectives, and then you said, now we flip it. So what comes up for me in terms of how I'm understanding that, there's so much enmeshment between you and Tank, because there's a ripple effect to his well-being that has to do with your
Yeah.
household, your kids, your bills, like so many
AKA,
things.
that's why it's hierarchical.
So
Exactly. He's on top. He top dog. I don't care what he say.
I feel you, and I have no argument against that. And let me say, if I was the boyfriend in that situation, I wouldn't even trip. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even trip because I get it. Like, there's so many considerations, like where those things come into play. And then on the flip side, I was in a situation where I was the boyfriend, and I locked my keys in the car one time after the person who I was with, we were together, she left, and for whatever she left or whatever, and I locked my keys. She had gotten either all the way home or halfway home or something, because I was up in her area, and she then left to come sit with me until the like AAA got there. And I remember feeling like, really appreciative of that. I don't know how it went over at home,
Yeah.
but I will
But the
say
space
she did
that I'm
that.
in, the space that I'm in with the example though, is if he needed her and we just got to the date, and that mean we just got to push the date off for an hour, or if we need to both roll through and help in this moment, I
Right.
could even roll with that. But
Right.
what I don't
Same.
want is for her partner to feel like you can't be there for him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
definitely don't want people to feel that way. My partners are not disposable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're definitely important. And I just try to do the right thing, like Tank says. You know what I mean? If I can be there for somebody, I will.
You know how many dates we done been on our life?
Yeah, but still,
Like I
I
said,
still not canceling our date because another grown man has a flat tire.
I think
No.
that you're talking about what I like to call inherent hierarchy, which is like that type of
Yes.
hierarchy that you can't really avoid because of the things that Sunjata mentioned.
yes.
Like
Yeah.
that when you're very enmeshed with somebody, there's a ripple effect, right? What affects
Yes.
you is going to very deeply affect that person who you're enmeshed with. And I think other people have something that I call intentional hierarchy, which is when they are specifically like, no, I have to
Yeah.
come first and make sure you run everything by me, and I
Yeah.
have veto
Yeah.
power, and I
And I
have
Right.
feel
to
Oh
like
pick
no.
her. And
and I
I feel
feel like
like
when
that's
Yeah.
what
you
you're saying you don't have.
Don't.
right, and
Not
that's
at
why I
all.
feel like the way you said it, other people would have consumed it that way than the other way.
I understand. I get it. I really understand that. I love how we got here. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So Pink's got, a boyfriend or and maybe a
Oh, wait.
girlfriend
You were
situation.
talking about
Pink's
your
got some
dynamic though, right?
peoples. Yeah, I'm
Well, I
curious.
was
Like
talking about
we were talking about how y'all identify, but now I'm curious about
yeah.
like,
Yes.
what's your love scape? What's your dating scape looking like? Like what y'all doing right now? Y'all out here in these streets for the summer or what you doing?
So I have three partners. Have Tank and I have two local boyfriends. Um and I kind of want to say, okay, I got two boyfriends and a husband. Sometimes that sounds like a lot, but it's not because my other two partners, I don't see them frequently, to be honest. So I have, my three partners, but I'm also dating. I'm also looking for another additional partner.
Okay.
I have a long distance partner. We've been dating for 2.5 years.
Okay.
No local partners though, right now. I've got like two exes that I see in like a local comment kind of situation. It's
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not at all any level of frequency to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I feel about my boyfriends.
It's
It's a
like
little,
whatever.
that's a little bit
I feel
more
like
frequent
I
than,
feel like my boyfriends are like comets. Like the boyfriend I've had the longest, I've seen him twice in 6 weeks.
Okay.
Just 2 weeks out. So it's not like a lot. The
Yeah.
other one, I've seen him in the last 6 weeks probably 4 times. So it's not,
Okay.
I still have room.
Once a week, once every other week type of vibe with
Yeah,
one,
and
and like every 2 weeks with the other.
I'm
yeah.
looking for more.
Okay.
I was in a long-term relationship with someone that we had like our set
Monday,
days
Wednesday.
to see each other. We
Mhm.
were Monday, Wednesday, and that's my brand.
what you're
That's what
looking for.
I want something very consistent. It was Monday, Wednesday, and then sometimes I might even have a weekend with him, or I might see him during a weekend day too. But we always have Monday, Wednesday.
Yeah. And I had a situation where I was seeing someone locally a couple times a week,
Mm-hmm.
like in 22.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's so much work. Oh, oh my God, that's so much effort. Like, and I done watched her have Monday, Wednesday consistent. Like, oh my God, that's so much work.
Yeah.
You come off like
Um,
you just do not like dating. That is your whole, like, I feel like that is like such your online persona is you be like, no, thank
Too
you.
much work.
You be
so
like,
much work.
hey, yeah,
Like I,
ask me out so I can say no.
But
yeah,
then he'll be at home like, my poly ain't popping. I'm like, whatever, man. You don't know what you
Just
I
want.
mean, I
scaring us
think,
away.
I think,
Right.
if someone was worth it, I would put the effort in and be fine with the consistency. It just, I've been non-monogamous for so long now that like it takes some real oomph to get me off the couch now.
I feel you.
And he's
Like,
just getting older, I
I
think.
like,
feel you.
We all getting older.
I mean,
It
yeah,
that
is.
and
part
we
It
too.
is
getting,
harder.
yeah,
You know what?
like,
It's the how long you've been in the game, and yeah, we getting older.
yeah,
Yeah.
we getting older.
That
Yeah.
was
It's
very
gotta
relatable for Sujata.
gotta be value added for
I
real
get
to
For
that.
get off
real.
the
Yeah.
couch. And if someone like that shows up, then I'll get off the couch. My long distance is planning to move here in the
Okay.
next months or so, so I'm gonna probably having to get off the couch a little bit more then, but we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
Yeah.
yeah. I wanna name something for anyone who may be watching this that's new or just hearing some of these terms. We talked about comets, and a comet relationship is a relationship that doesn't have any, as you probably picked up through the context, doesn't have any like consistent schedule. And it's like it could be I see you once a month. I see you twice a year if they're long distance. But whenever you get together, it's like you pick up right where you left off. There's no love loss, and you're right back in it.
Yeah.
So so let's transition to talking a little bit about poly black and dating the group and the origins of that. Like how did that come about and when?
Well, you want to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
So back in like on the story transitioning from like being to the poly era, like we had a place where we were like our community of poly people, right? It was a
Mm-hmm.
group at the time, and that group was kind of where the poly family started, right? They were like the first people to do like a weekend event type of thing back then.
I think you can call them by their name.
Yeah, it
Popsy.
was poly open or maybe something else.
Okay.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Harmony and Carlton at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was their group. And then it was also right around the time that Black and Poly was starting.
Okay.
So Pomsey was our family. Black and Poly was educational,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like I was the coordinator for the Black and Poly Atlanta initial chapter,
Okay.
right? And we used to host discussions at Karis Bookstore in Little Five Point.
Okay.
So we had that space for that, and then Pomsey was like our family, but we wanted like places to like meet new people,
Yeah, we
right?
were trying to find
Where
like
like you
yeah.
could make an ad in this group in this space to say this is who I am and this is what I'm looking for, and you can find people who are vibing with that.
And at that time, there was none of
And
that.
there was none of that, right? We had our family and we had educational. So we were like, well, we need to find somewhere where we could just have fun. And then that just, I created Poly Black and Dating. They probably sat there for like 2 months before I really put any effort into like pulling people in.
Yeah.
And then once we started, it just
took off.
What year was that?
skyrocketed.
What year was
Yeah,
that?
2024.
No, you mean
What
14.
year
Oh,
was it?
2014. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay, 2014.
yeah,
Okay, so about 11 years ago.
yep,
Yeah.
about 11 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah, and like, there's people in the group today who were like that first 20 people in the group then, and then it was like, I know, like, in the group now, people who are newer to the group are, like the group, and then sort of the people who've been around for a long time are a little less active than it once was, and they want that old vibe back. But it was a movement and a time, right? Like we were all sort of starting our polyamorous journey around the same time with some of the same challenges, all in that moment, So the learning that was happening at that time, everybody was learning at the same time on the same level. You know what I mean? So once we all started spending time together in places and events, it was just magical because of that. In that time, we didn't have this for us in the world at that time. um Everybody was on the same level, everybody was learning at the same time, we were all tripping over our feet together. It was just a moment in time that just sort of can't be recreated, right? It just can't. It was, the ingredients just hit, like the cook was cooking that day. The ingredients just fell together and made that perfect dish. That
man.
ran, though, from 2014 to the
COVID.
pandemic. Like, I think the pandemic is sort of, it 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 extinguished the movement at that time. You know what I mean? It just sort of did. And I mean, and that's both good and bad, if I'm being honest. The community has been a blessing. But there's all the highs, there's a lot of lows that happen in the community too. And
People in
you experience that enough, you get exhausted by it. You get how many things I've heard about myself that are not even true? Like, it's
I can
insane.
imagine.
Like, it's just absolutely insane. Like, and how many other people's, like, information that I get that I didn't ask for.
Right.
Like, that is just ridiculous.
Yeah, you got to hold a lot for sure.
Can be a messy place.
Yeah. And that just, that was sort of the bad to it too, though. But when you were in that moment and the vibes were so great, and you could try to overlook it, and I think the pandemic kind of just squashed it a little bit.
I wanna say, I really wanna, I kind of gave y'all some flowers, before we got recording, and I want to say it to the people. Just kind of share a little bit more about like how meaningful you all's efforts were in my life at that time when I found y'all at the end of 2017. Um, I mean, I reflect on often how pivotal finding PBD was for me, because when I came into this understanding about myself, after fighting it for about 6 years, going to counseling, trying to suppress my true nature, when I drew that line in the sand and said I can't fight it anymore, I felt really, my ex-wife was just like, I'm not going on this journey with you. You got it. And that led to our separation and then divorce, like that. And I found myself like alone all of a sudden and feeling like an outcast. And, of course, I let down a lot of people when it comes to family and friends and all these different things I was dealing with. And I didn't know anything about any communities in the Atlanta area at the time. And I literally was Googling stuff online. And that's how I found that support group. It was like this little counseling group up in Roswell. And then I stumbled upon on meetup.com, this Black and Poly meetup that I went to by myself in the third Thursday of October of 2017. And
Yep.
I'm someone that never likes going anywhere by myself. You know, I'm just not my thing. But I'm like new to this. I'm by myself. I'm like, I gotta find my people. So I went, and man, what I saw, it ended up being the third Thursday for Polyween. I had no clue.
Man,
It
Oh
looked like
wow.
a family reunion. I was
it
like
Right.
looking
was.
around like, oh my goodness, all this love, people hugging
Yeah.
each other, kissing each other. It was packed in there. And I was just
Yeah.
standing off to the side, just observing, like, yo, I'm not alone. I am
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
alone. Yo, I thought I was weird. I thought something was wrong with me. I was going through all this stuff. Man, it was a rough time in my life. And I was like, I am not alone. And so Coogee was at the steps, like greeting people when we came up the steps.
Uh-huh.
And when he greeted me, I'm like, what's up? I just stood like not too far from him. And after being there for a little while,
Coochie's another admin of this group, by the way, for y'all listening.
yeah. And after being there for a little while, I just went over to him like, yo, I keep hearing people talk about some group. Like, what group is everyone talking about? And he's like, yeah, just, find me on Facebook and I'll add you to that group. And he added me to Poly Black and Dating, and that was my first group. I know so many people who come to Poly Black and Dating after being in so many other Facebook groups. Poly Black
Yeah.
and Dating was my first experience in any type of polyamory community, and I feel so fortunate for that to have been my first experience. So thank y'all. Y'all,
Yeah,
You're
for
I
sure.
believe
welcome.
that I believe that there should be a documentary on that time frame from 2014
Man,
to 2020 on Poly
man.
Black and Dating. Someone has to do the documentary because it's a movie for sure.
It
Yeah, it
is.
is. It is. It is.
It
I
is.
sometimes sorry, I'm gonna tell my grandkids we had this 6 year window as grown-ups where we had a good
We
time.
had a good time.
We did.
Man.
So can y'all tell us, like, I'm so curious about how the dating app is going. Like, how's that going? Like, I
It's
definitely signed
going
up because I wanted to
yeah.
support.
Yeah, it is going really, really good. We've been making like enhancements to different things. The first month or so, we were working out some of the kinks to it, but like it's just got a constant growth and it's just continuing to grow and grow.
And
And I'm
y'all
going to
are
be
like,
adding more and more features to it as it continues to grow.
just for the
It's
listeners
good.
out
It's
there,
been
this
really
is
active.
an app. Can we like intro, like, for the
Yeah,
listeners, like tell us a little bit about it and like what it's for and what it's
yeah.
called and all that stuff.
So, what was it this beginning of last year? We had kind of been thinking about it for a long time, right? Even just from our own personal experience of trying to date out here, right? You might have been on Tinder, you might have been on Bumble, you've tried Hinge, like it's never been a black polyamorous dating app that's just like for us. And it's
Mhm.
in the Apple Store and it's in the Android Google Play
Mhm.
Store. So I started sort of doing my research, and the first thing that came up was that the Apple Store in particular doesn't really like dating apps, new
Oh,
ones. So the first thing became, do I spend all this money on developing an app that may never reach the app store, taking a risk? Because
Yeah,
this
it's
is
a big
not
risk.
like it's not cheap, right? Like it costs a ton of money to do.
It
So we were
did.
going to take the risk, but I just felt like we just felt like the community needed a space where this was, where yeah, because trying to navigate it through Facebook and Facebook group challenging, and we all have swiped left and swiped right, and that's just easy, right? So we wanted to go down that road, so we did. Um, and we want the app to be more than just a dating app. I eventually would like to just lift and shift away from Facebook, yeah, right? So there's a feed, so we can still have all the same posts that we've had. There's community chat rooms so that we can have chat rooms. I can even make exclusive chat rooms.
The
Um,
event space.
I more recently I've added an event portion to the app. So our summer festival is in there, Polyween is in there. So I eventually want to just move away from Facebook as
Mhm.
PBD's home and
Love that.
move right. So we're sort of like letting it grow and working on sort of some of the updates that we want to make to the app. And eventually, I think that's the place we'll end up being. We'll- We don't have to support Zuckerberg for us anymore.
I
We can
love that.
go to where we need. So right now, there are limitations because I want people to try to get a subscription, but the subscription is really so that we can keep developing. So I want people to support so that we can keep developing. Every addition to the app, like adding the event section,
Mm-hmm.
that costs me money out of my pocket, like,
Mhm.
and not a little bit of money. We're talking about 100 hours of development and 30 hours of Q&A that I've got to pay the actual developers to do. So
Yeah.
right now, it's just the investment to try to like build it up for us. So that's where we are, and it's got a continuous growth every day. There's numerous of people going every single day, so it's continuing to
Nice.
grow.
Nice.
And then in the meantime, we are working on like some partnerships with different people or different brands, and and leveraging each other's strength to share like other products that people have. And I don't know if we're ready to talk about that one or not in particular, but we got one coming that I think is a cool little pairing.
Nice.
I
That's
agree.
amazing.
It is really amazing because I feel like that's one of the things we struggle with on dating apps is like, oh my gosh, monogamous, monogamous, monogamous.
Right.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
it's so nice to have a place where you don't really have to like filter for that.
Yeah. And then, I'm even got it set up so we can filter for like solo poly people, anarchy. Like we can
Mhm.
find our people and actually have a filter function for our people.
You can even filter love languages.
Yeah.
If you're
Even
looking
love
for someone that is, needs words or would like words of affirmation, you can find that,
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. I love it. So thank y'all for that and for that ongoing development. If you're watching this as a polyamorous person, let's go out and support and understand that our support will help continue the development of this and attracting more people. And this could be found on both. Is it just one or both
Yep,
app
both.
stores?
It's on
Okay,
Apple and Google
Google
Play.
Play.
awesome. So we have one final segment that we call Sunshine and Rainbows Story. It's a play on the name of our podcast, which is SunShan for
Yep.
sun and Shan, right?
Yep.
Sunshine and Rainbows, but Sunshine and Rainbows. And I want to ask you all, you both can either answer this separately or come up with a story that you both know that you can share together. But basically, we're asking like, what's your sunshine and rainbows story, which is a time in your polyamory journey when you endured some challenges. That's the rain. And then later, after some time passed and things improved, you gained some perspective. That's the sunshine. And you were able to recognize the lesson or area of growth. That's the rainbow.
I mean, you might can share. We can take it back to the Monday, Wednesdays. You really had a hard time when that started. He struggled. Uh, he was texting me the whole time I was on a date or calling. He was upset. If I did anything else wrong, even outside of it, it always went back to me in my dating life. So
The
he
rain.
struggled. Yeah.
That's the rain. Thank you.
That's and the sunshine is kind of what I talked about earlier, though, right?
Yeah.
Like
The work.
and maybe this is all part of getting older too. It's that I'm protective of my energy and what I give it to, and whether what I give it to is valuable or not. So, like looking back on it, I wasted so much positive energy that she and I could have had on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Right.
Sunday
Mhm.
by being so wrapped up in whatever was triggering for me in those moments.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And now I'm just in a much better place with all of it where like, hey, that feeds your soul, go feed it.
Love it.
Knicks are on or the Pistons are on tonight. Like go and enjoy and I'm okay. And it just took some time to get there. And I think that just life experiences and maturing and figuring out where I wanted to put my energy. Like,
Yeah.
like I wasted so much time during those moments, during those phases, that we could have more good times together.
Right. You
Man,
want to add anything, Pink?
No, he summed it up really well.
Okay.
And I agree. I'm glad that we finally made it to the sunshine.
yeah,
Now when I leave, it's not an issue. And he's very supportive.
I love it. That's the rainbow. That's the growth.
it's the
Yes.
The
rainbow.
growth,
Yes.
the rainbow. I
Sure,
love it. I
for
Yes.
love it.
sure.
Well, that's a great place to close things out, man. I'm really so appreciative of both of your time and everything that you shared.
This was
And
fun.
this was a lot of fun
A lot
getting
of
to know a little bit more of those little nuanced parts of y'all's
Yeah,
story.
for
So thank
sure.
y'all for sharing it with us, and thank y'all for sharing it with all of our listeners and watchers. And yeah, we'll see y'all in the group. We appreciate y'all.
Thanks for having
Okay. Thanks
us.
for having us. Bye,
All right.
guys.
Until next time, y'all. We love
Yeah.
y'all. Peace. That's a wrap for this episode of Sunshine and Rainbows. We hope today's conversation sparked some new insights, deep reflections, or just gave you a fresh perspective on love and connection.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop us a comment, send us your questions, or share your own experiences. We might even feature them in a future episode.
And don't forget to subscribe to Sunshine and Rainbows on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. And if you're vibing with us, please like, comment, share, and leave a review. It helps others find the show and keeps these conversations going.
Want more sunshine and rainbows? Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Sunshine Rainbows for daily insights, behind the scenes moments, and updates on future episodes. You can get more in depth and intellectual with us on our Substack, sustainablesolutionsmedia.com. If you like what we're saying over there, consider becoming a paid subscriber to support all our liberation and anti-oppression efforts.
As always, thank you for rocking with us. We so appreciate the love and support. Until next time, we love y'all. Peace.